Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Today I'm looking at the most recent update, which I'm a little bit late on. I've been quite busy, so sorry for that. But going into it like normal, going straight into general, you can see that players who drop out of the match, so people who are dead or disconnect in a team game or anything else, have their mines and stone mines destroyed. That's great for team games when one of your teammates dies and all of his mines are still there. So now all their mines are destroyed, so you can build your own. Nice change there, quality of life. Improved the faction and team setting interface, so that's for the map editor. In multiplayer survival mode, you can choose the limit of an era's progress, so you can decide when to stop. It's like in private games when you can block certain cultures and countries. Quite simple balance changes. It's mostly one big theme. So for the Stone Age, slingers cannot attack with a punch, so I think all archer units can't attack with melee anymore. There's maybe a few exceptions. That's going to be really big because, for archers at least, not for slingers too much, but for archers, that means they can't deal with buildings, or very quickly at least, making them less of an all-round unit. So now you have to have siege with them, or some sort of melee units. But for slingers it doesn't really matter too much, because in the Stone Age slingers can't deal with bulwarks anyway, which is their biggest issue, so not too big of a deal. And in the Stone Age you want to be killing workers mostly, so... Anyway, going on to early Europe, that's Bronze and Iron Age for Europe. The Axeman damage reduced by 1, and when it attacks it halves the armour of any living target for 10 seconds. So this is the first buff to be added. I think they use the word buff, but what they mean is like ability or effect. I think that's more a better English word for it. But basically what happens is the Axeman will attack a target and its armor will be halved for 10 seconds, meaning other units can do damage to it as well. And by living, I think they mean everything that isn't artillery, tanks, ships, and planes. So infantry and horses. I think living is the same thing that gas mortars attack. So if a gas mortar can't hurt it, the Axeman will probably not affect it. The Spearman damage to rider slows target by half for 5 seconds. This means that whenever a spearman or a pikeman, later on you'll see that as well, they're pikemen, all pike and spear units now slow down riders, so horses. I think maybe camels as well, but I think it's mostly just horses. And that's for 5 seconds, that cuts their speed in half. And archers can no longer damage with a strike. Early Asiatic, that's the same as early Europe, so it's Bronze and Iron Age. Spearmen damage to riders slows them down, same as Europe, and archers can't attack with a strike. That's melee. Western Europe, again another batch of upgrades, getting a big price increase, so warehouse shelving 700 to 1000 materials, cleavage wedges 600 0 200 700 0 300, super tough pickaxe increased from 0 700 200 to 0 800 300, steerable sail upgrade price increased from 80 to 1000 materials, fishing nets upgrade increased from 500 to 700, bullet I think it is, price increased from 900 0 400 to 1000 0 500. Light abrasive sharpening upgrade price increased from 800 0 500 to 1000 0 500. This is basically the same as the last patch where they increased upgrades costs. It's just going to mean you need to be more selective with the upgrades and take into account how much use you're going to get out of them. Because like warehouse shelving is only late medieval, and a lot of people don't stay in late medieval, so warehouse shelving may not be as useful anymore. The Morgenstern, damage reduced by 3. It's got really high damage anyway. That's the melee unit for Western Europe, not many people use it. And it does the same thing as Axeman, halves the target's armor for 10 seconds. Pikemen slow down riders for 5 seconds. Longbowmen can't attack with a melee, crossbowmen also can't attack with melee. Bombard and all cannon and explosion units, as far as I can tell, all explosion damage units, so cannons, artillery, that kind of thing, they all slow down a target by half for 8 seconds. So it slows down the enemies' speed by half, so if it's normally 30, it'll be 15, and that effect is for 8 seconds, and that's only on a direct hit. So bombards, cannons, galleons, bombardier ships, and grenadiers for West Europe get that effect, and this is the most introduced effect so far. Eastern Europe, the same upgrades have been changed. The damage has been reduced by 2, and the attack on living targets reduces the armor, same as the Morgenstern and Axeman. Pikeman also reduces riders' speed. Crossbowmen no longer attack with stab, and the cannon and all the explosion units doing living target attacks. For Western Asia, you have increased prices for your upgrades here. Warehouse shelving, improved harness, and sorting supplies. Last 2 are for elephants, which I don't think need increase in price. They're already quite steep for West Asia, whose economy is not very good. Azap, damage to rider, slowing them by 5 seconds by half, same as the other spear units. Sarbaz, no longer melee attack available, and all the cannon units again do the slow effect, which halves the enemy's speed. East Asia, it's the same kind of thing, increased upgrade price. Ashigaru, slowing down horses on attack. No archer unit can do melee attacks anymore, and rocket cannon, hand cannon, and turtle ships doing damage to living targets, slowing them by half for 8 seconds. And Industrial Revolution, you got the ballistic sight upgrade, increased in price by 700 materials and 300 metal. That's very expensive, but I think it's still worth it because the ballistic sight increases the accuracy of all artillery units, which I think is really good. The howitzer, squadron cannon, trench mortar, heavy tank, battleship, military aerostat, light bomber, and grenade launcher all have the slowing effect. So battleships, military aerostats, bombers, and grenade launchers slow down all land targets, and trench mortars and heavy tanks slow down living targets. I'm not sure if there's a difference between the two, but I think it's worth pointing out. The abstract country, and that applies to certain countries, not all of them, added pointed bullets upgrade, which increases the range of soldiers and rangers except air targets, and for Turkey that increases snipers' range as well. It is very expensive, but it can be quite good in early IR, I guess, maybe. Using ranges, I think will be the biggest change. I think it's like a 20 increase in range, but not against air targets, only against ground targets. And Britain, all of the slowing effects have been added. Same with India, same with Turkey, Germany as well. There's not been any balance changes for the countries, just the implementation of the effects, which slow down units on a hit. You can see there's not much changes here there's no changes to balance at all. And then when you get to Hungary, the gas mortar poison duration has been increased by 10 seconds and its damage reduced by 20%. So that basically means that your units, when hit by gas mortar, will still likely die because the duration's been increased, but the damage has been reduced, so they'll die over a longer time. So they'll probably live the 40 seconds rather than 30, because the gas mortar almost always kills on one shot, almost all infantry units. So you basically just get more use out of it. So if you get hit by gas, it's probably worth just trying to attack and deal as much damage as you can before they die. Wunder Emma, the slowing effect has been applied. Zilini 1, damage to land targets slows, and Zilini 2 the same. The Xaba AT, weapon damage reduced from 100 to 70, same with the Nimrod. That's quite a big change, I think. That's the biggest change for Hungary. Reducing the damage they do for their tanks means that the tank rush meta for Hungary will finally be quenched, I think, especially with the slow for artillery. It's just going to mean that tanks are going to be a little bit less useful, especially Hungary's. And pointed bullets upgrade. So overall, I think this is a very nice patch. I really like the new effect system. It might need a little bit of balancing and tweaking, but we'll see how that goes. And this is the end of this update. So thank you everyone for watching, enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.